that tire noise? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hot Take. Today we are in another Honda S2000. This time we have an AP2. This is Daniel's car from Moccasin Driver. So we just drove the AP1 S2000 that was Chris's, and we got a feel for that. So now we're gonna hop into this AP2 and kind of see how it's different. Everyone says they're a little more refined. I can already tell immediately in the shifter it's a little rubberier, very relative. It's still very direct. A little lower red line, but it makes more horsepower and a little more torque, which everyone seems to like. And I don't know, we're kind of just going to get the feel for how is the same car different. So with that, let's go ahead and hop on the road and see how she rips. And to start, I did it again. So this one is also the opposite of Chris's because it has 100,000 less miles, and it is also a cream puff. I mean, everything in here is nice and pretty much stock. A little bit of rev hang. That's already new from the AP1, which had none. Try second. Feels like it has a little bit of a heavier flywheel. Still feels fantastic to rev out, of course. Steering is a little more numb, maybe. Suspension is just as tight. Hugs the corner so nicely. Back in the gas. Woohoo! So, what's interesting, this feels quite a bit more like the E36 M3, which is interesting. I don't know why I'm using that car as comparison. It's just because that's what I know. But the controls are a lot more rubbery. And everything just feels a little bit softer, which makes this car so much more livable. Elevation change, slow down a little bit. Man, this thing is as responsive as it ever was. Some of the difference I'm feeling might also be the difference between high mileage and low mileage car, but Chris's felt pretty dialed in, so that was the second time I've seen that guy in the Fiesta ST. He must be having fun out here too. Obviously, truck pulling out there up front. So the shifter feels a little bit rubberier. It's still very direct. So I am going to speak in kind of very relative terms here. But it's a little bit smoother, a little bit more refined, and I kind of like that. I'm kind of an old man at heart when it comes to these performance cars. So I never mind a little bit of refinement, a little bit of rubberiness for the sake of making the car just a more comfortable experience, more usable on the road. The rev hang is a little bit something to get used to, especially after coming from the AP1, which had none. To the floor. Low to spree. gearing's about the same, but what's interesting is the AP1 S2000 has that higher red line, so you can hold the gears way longer. This, I find that I'm kind of going to fourth sooner. Which is something Daniel was kind of pointing out to me too when he drove Chris's. And I do feel like there is a little more low-end grunt. I'm not always finding myself trying to rev it out to 7,500. I kind of have like good enough torque down low, which I do appreciate. Again, the old man at heart in me. VTEC pull is much stronger on this one than it was in the AP1. It was like more of a gradual build up. You did feel it kick over, but in this one, you really feel it at 6,000. It starts to greatly accelerate you more. Some people may like that. I'm indifferent to it. It's just different as opposed to better or worse. There's the rev hang. And the VTEC. I also like the AP2 steering wheel better, so I feel like the other one was a little bit ruined on the left, but I feel like I have more to grab onto. It's a little beefier. I didn't specify at the start of the video, but this is oh wait, was it an 05 or 06? Whatever the last year was before they got rid of cable throttle. So this one has a throttle cable, not drive-by-wire. And the throttle response is identical on the AP1 and AP2. The only difference I think of the AP2 is I kind of have to give it a little more lead up, and there's a little bit of rev hang, so it's kind of you can feel that there's more driver aids and more computer interaction. But again, this is very relative. It's still very good by modern standards. I've also noticed that the clutch and transmission is a lot quieter on the AP2, kind of further reinforcing that just a little bit of extra level of refinement. I think a lot of Honda customers complained that the S2000 was just too raw as a street car. So Honda kind of figured, oh well, we can make the AP2 a little softer, and if you want it more raw, then you can modify it. I know the AP1 had a similar cluster, but I feel like it's nicer in here. I don't know what that little strip is at the bottom. Kind of interesting. I don't know why I thought it was a CD player. It kind of looks like that. Anyway, guys, I'm just speaking words. I'm like a senile old man. Nah, we're not making that. Should make closer to the guy. Awesome. Use almost all 5 forward gears to get up to triple digit speeds. Not that we hit that, but the gearing's noticeably shorter in the AP2, except that it's the same. Very interesting experience. I'm surprised they wouldn't have lowered the VTEC kickover to like 5 or 5,500, given the difference, because when I went from 1 to 2, I almost dropped out of the VTEC a little bit. Which is very, I'm already in 6. Looking at the tag. It's a very, very interesting choice by Honda. I guess their logic is kind of like, well, we already have a formula, it's already really good. And they were trying to mess with it as little as possible just to kind of give the customers what they wanted. Oh, beautiful downshift into the corner. little bit of tire noise. This car makes me feel like a superhero. Back into the brakes. It is softer, but once you start really sending it on some back roads, you start to feel everything again. It's like the perfect level of refinement without it being too refined. Oh. All right. Find somewhere to turn around. Even around town, it's not too bad. Definitely under 3,500, you feel the big difference in the low end torque that the AP2 offers. It feels a lot happier to just kind of sit at 3. So we have now finished driving the AP2 Honda S2000. And overall, it was a very direct experience. Similar to the AP1, it had just that kind of level of driver's feedback that you don't really get out of another car. It's everything you want the Miata to be. And I kind of see now why these are so expensive. Compared to the AP1, I'm surprised at how much less driver's feedback there is. It's not like a little amount. This is all very relative, but like the steering just has, actually the steering might be a little better, but the pedals just a tiny bit less, the shifter just a tiny bit less. And that's not really a discredit to this car, but just a credit to how good the AP1 is. But as far as driving it around town, this is so much better. You could feel under 4,000, you have so much more torque. And it's just easier to kind of drive. So I'm gonna have to kind of think on this and see how I want to score this, especially compared to the AP1. But with that, let's go ahead and give it a score. We already did the AP1 S2000, so I'm going to keep this brief. Utility. Similar to the AP1, the AP2 S2000 is not great. A notable improvement is better ride quality, but otherwise they are the same. It gets a 2 out of 10. Features. The features list is the same, but materials are considerably better. The flip panel for the radio says S2000 on and out, and the steering wheel is nicer. Small, but worth noting. It gets 3.5 out of 10. MPG. The EPA rates the AP2 S2000 at 17 city and 23 highway with a combined of 20. It gets a 5 out of 10. Cool factor. Like the AP1, Honda made a ton of these, and a lot of them were saved. It is not uncool, but there's certainly a lot more interesting cars out there. It gets a 5.5 out of 10. Driver's feedback. The driver controls are amazing. Not quite as sharp as the AP1. The throttle's less immediate, the shifters slightly rubberier, all very relative. It's those amazing pedal inputs and overall great driver's feel. It gets an 8.5 out of 10. Acceleration. Honda claims 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, giving it a 5 out of 10. Should you buy it? The AP2 S2000 is more expensive than the AP1. It gets a 9.5 out of 15, putting it here on our list. The AP2 S2000 has a slight edge on the AP1. Truth be told, the cars are very similar, as expected. But the AP2 just has that little extra level of comfort that makes it more enjoyable to cruise around in. You can get the same RPM as the AP1 with modifications, or the shifter feel, etc, etc. To put it shortly, the AP1 is the better Honda S2000. The AP2 is the better car, and the one I think most of you should spend your hard-earned money on. Okay, so apparently the S2000 has the fastest top, so we're gonna give that a shot. Windows would have rolled down, except they're already down. You can see where it kind of hooks.
Yeah, you take this and then
okay.
yeah, push Push the button. Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
Nice.
Wow. All right, that's pretty nifty.